Is my daily forecast. So as you can see, I'm currently looking at 6 pairs, so I'll be forecasting on these 6 pairs as shown on the right. So on the Aussie US dollar, you can see that we have had a really big gap as we opened up on Sunday evening UK time. So for me, I'm anticipating a lot more of a range. But what's happened previously is of course important. You can see we came down, came up in this kind of V. We broke the high, suggesting we could have this bit of a range and a push up. We did get that really nice push up, but again, we didn't really get a chance to get involved. We saw that we started to break the high, retrace, break the low, retrace. So for me, anticipating a bit more of a range. Then again, we broke the high, retraced, and then we had this kind of ranging close into Friday. So for me, you can see as we've got the gap, we've just started to range around in here on Monday morning. So for me, I'm just sitting on my hands being patient and anticipating more of this range. So for me, I will be seeing how we exit these kind of ranges. You can see we'll have liquidity sitting at the bottom, liquidity sitting at the top. So for me, I'm going to be sitting on my hands being patient and seeing how we exit these kind of areas. So for me, from now till the next morning, next forecast essentially, I'll be looking at a couple of setups. If we impulse out of here, we'll be looking to get involved in a nice flag. Seeing how that forms will be very, very nice. And if we impulse down, I'll also be looking to get involved in a nice flag. So I'll be looking to get involved depending on how the flag shapes out on the Aussie US dollar. Now, if we start to range and then come up in an ascending manner and break these highs correctively, I will be sitting my hands being patient and seeing what happens next. If we actually start to see some moves to the downside, I will be looking to get involved, okay? Now, same to the downside, if we start to continue this range and we approach these liquidity areas correctively, I will be sitting my hands being patient and seeing if we have any moves up. But for now, from now till the next forecast, I'm anticipating a lot more of a range. And of course, if we just do start to impulse, we'll be looking to get involved in some opportunities. But again, it will take some time for that to happen. So for me, again, not looking to get involved in any positions yet, especially due to the size of this gap, which can be filled or may not. It just depends on price. So next pair is the Aussie Japanese yen. As you can see, very similar situation with the Aussie US dollar. And if not probably all pairs, this gap is obviously causing us just to be a lot more patient and see how we actually get out of these ranges. So again, for me, there will be liquidity sitting at the top and liquidity sitting beneath. So I want to see how we actually exit these areas. But again, what's happened in prior price action, you can see we've come down with quite a little bit of momentum, but again, nothing too sufficient, especially when we've come from this kind of ascending. So we've come down, you can see we started to form wicks. So we started to form like a lot of wicks to the downside again. Then we broke the low, retraced, and then we broke the high with a nice bit of momentum. And then you can see we formed a wick, started to range, and then of course we broke the high, retraced. And we broke the high again, started to see a little bit of momentum. But again, what happened at the top? For me, you can see this weakness. We broke the high, retraced, giving us this kind of ascending nature in a sense, okay? Now, as you can see, again, there's a gap here. So for me, like I said, I'm not looking to get involved in any trades in the near future until at least the next forecast, unless we do a few things. So number one, if we do impulse out of here, we'll be looking to get involved in a nice flag. And same to the downside, if we impulse down, I will be looking to get involved in a nice continuation flag, depending on how the flag forms, okay? Now, again, because of this gap, and especially because of the highs and lows, I'm anticipating more of this range. So if we start to approach the highs correctively, like this, I will be looking, and I will be sitting on my hands waiting and seeing if we have opportunities to go down south, depending on the weakness here and the momentum created here, okay? And that's same to the downside. If we come down in a descending manner, I will be waiting, sitting on my hands, being patient and seeing if we see any momentum up. So again, being patient on this pair. I'm not looking to get involved in anything till we have that, and I'm expecting more of a range till at least the next forecast or the evening forecast. So for me, sitting on my hands, being patient with this pair likes to trend correctively. So even again, like even if we start ascending in this corrective manner, I'm not looking to get involved because again, there hasn't been any real momentum shown. So again, waiting on the Aussie Japanese yen. Next pair is Euro US dollar. So for me, as you can see, again, just first kind of impressions, we're definitely looking very range bound, okay? So you can see we've come down, come up in this kind of V shape, and what do I expect then? We expect this range and a push in the direction of the second leg, which is what we got. More intricately, you can see, as we broke this high, we started to form wicks, then we broke the high, retraced, okay? Giving me no evidence that I want to go up. And then after that, we broke the low, retrace, suggesting that we'll have the range. But again, because of the V, we know we get the range and we get a push in the second leg. So that's exactly what we've got. But again, as you can see, what's happened after this, you can see that we've broken the high with not much momentum. You can see we start to form wicks. You can see over 5 candles we've not really moved. Then again, at the close, we've broken the high and in a sense retraced all the way down here. So again, this gap is pretty big. So again, what am I looking for? Well, for me, I'm anticipating a lot more of a range. So as you can see, there will be some liquidity sitting down here. There will be liquidity sitting up here. So again, for me, I'm going to be sitting my hands being patient with this pair, okay? So again, I'm anticipating more of this kind of behavior. Now again, if we just start to impulse up, more than happy to look for a nice continuation flag. Very high probability with this pair. And same if we impulse down. If we impulse down, more than happy to get involved in a nice continuation flag. I know with the euro, US dollar, these flags look very, very nice and are very, very high probability. But again, we may not need to do that. We might just start to range and then come down in a descending manner. If we do that, I will be looking at opportunities to go north, depending on the weakness seen and how we actually move up. And same to the upside. If we start to see this range and come up in an ascending manner, I will be looking at opportunities to go down south. Again, till the next forecast, I'm not really anticipating this move. An impulse into a flag is much more likely in terms of looking for setups. But again, the most probable scenario is this kind of range. Okay, so waiting and seeing how we react to the liquidity zones above and below. Next pair is the Euro Japanese yen. So as you can see, very similar to the US dollar, but a little bit nicer in terms of a V to a range. You can see we've got this V, got the range, and got the push up. Literally how we like to draw that kind of V to range to second direction move. So for me, as you can see, we've broke the low, retraced, then we've broke the high, formed wicks, retraced, anticipating the range, and we got the range. We got the range right here. Then what happened after the range? We broke the high, retraced, broke the high. Again, not showing much momentum, retraced, broke the high, retraced, coming out in this kind of ascending nature. Now, as you can see, what's happened next? You can see that, again, got this big gap. So again, liquidity will be sitting below and above. So for me, I want to be waiting and seeing how we exit this area. So again, like I say, we start to impulse up. I'll be looking for a nice continuation flag, showing that commitment, showing that breakthrough the liquidity area, showing that commitment from traders and money managers where we want to go. Same to the downside. Happy to look for a nice continuation flag if we get that impulse. Okay. Now again, anticipating a lot more of a range. Okay, until we break these highs and lows. If we come down in a descending manner, I will be looking at opportunities to go up. Okay, and all depending on the momentum. But again, we don't have to do that. And in fact, similar to the euro US dollar, and this is something that I didn't really mention with the euro US dollar because it will take a little bit of time to form, in my opinion, is that you might get this descending and impulse down. If we get that, I will be happy to look for a nice continuation flag. Okay, but again, this will take a little bit of time to form, especially till the next evening forecast. But again, if we start to see this descending correction, I will be looking at opportunities to go up north. Okay, very high probability. Now, same to the upside. If we continue this range or start to come up in an ascending manner, I will be sitting my hands being patient, seeing what happens next. If we have momentum down, we'll be looking to get involved. But again, we could just impulse up. If we impulse up, more than happy to look for a nice continuation flag. Okay, but if we start to see this kind of corrective nature at the top, I will be looking at opportunities to go south. Why is that? Well, the reason being is because this is showing the weakness, whereas retail traders typically think that that is part of the up move. So again, we'll be on the right side of the market, whilst they will be on the wrong side. They will actually be taking long positions, whereas we will be taking short, and we've read the language of the market. So very high probability setup here. But again, like I say, it will take time for that to happen. So at the very least, I'm expecting a lot more of a range in here, or watching how we actually start to break these highs and lows till the next evening forecast. Okay. Next pair is the pound. Now again, for me on the pound, I'm looking for a lot more relative momentum, or I'm looking for a nice push away. As you can see, we've been pretty range bound. We've come down, we've come up in the same sort of kind of V nature. We've broken the high, retraced. Then again, after that, I think we've broken the low here, retraced probably. Low here, 660, low probably around here, 666. So I don't think we've actually broken the low. Anyway, in a sense, we've come in this range, and then of course we've had this gap. So again, for me, waiting and seeing what happens next. I'm not looking on this pair. I'm not looking for any kind of reversal setups. I'm looking for more impulsive behavior. So for me, if we impulse up, I'm more than happy to get involved in a nice continuation flag. Okay. But again, we might also get a wider flag. So if we come down, we come up, we start to range a bit, and then break the low and push up, I will be looking for this nice wider flag. Very high probability with this player. Same to the downside. If we impulse down, pull up, and we start to see this kind of wider flag, break the high and come down, that is very high probability on this player, looking for that setup, or just looking for a nice normal continuation flag. But again, on this pair, not really looking at any liquidity areas for me personally, because I'm not looking at any corrective nature. I'm waiting for more impulsive behavior and seeing if we can get involved. Okay, now again, we could just impulse up, retrace, have a nice push. I will be looking to get involved in that kind of setup. And so to the downside, if we impulse down, retrace, push down, come back to this level, we'll be looking to get involved in this kind of setup. Again, very, very high probability on the pound. Okay, so again, waiting for more impulsive behavior on this pair. Next pair is the New Zealand Japanese yen. As you can see, another gap here. And again, this is where I do look at corrective price action. This pair likes to trend correctively. So for me, again, because we're starting to range, we will have liquidity areas sitting above and below this range and below the highs and lows. For me, we can see this. Okay, and now what's happened prior? You can see we had this really nice broke the low, retrace, broke the low, retrace. Okay, it's really nice weakness to the downside, and we pushed up with nice momentum. But again, the next two candles, again, doesn't fit on the plan. We're seeing this aggressive kind of pullback, especially considering prior price action. So for me, in this kind of scenario, in this kind of bomb, I don't actually trade the bombs here, but again, I wouldn't be looking at any kind of continuations or combos or down to this level here, because of prior price action. When you see this, you could just start to get this kind of range. Okay, so again, what's happened after? You can see we've broken the high, retraced, broken the high, retraced, broken the high, retraced, giving this corrective nature, and then of course we've got this gap as we open. So for me, what am I looking for? What am I expecting on this pair? So again, just like all the other pairs, we are anticipating a lot more of a range. Okay, so for me, I'm anticipating more of this. But again, because I don't trade the bomb, I'm not looking at impulsive behavior. So for me, I'm waiting to see how we break the highs and lows. If we come up in a corrective manner, I will be looking at opportunities to go back down south, as long as I see this weakness and see nice momentum coming in. And same to the downside. If I start to see this range and come down in this kind of corrective manner, I will be waiting, sitting my hands and seeing if there's any momentum to go up north. Again, so waiting, sitting on my hands, being patient. So again, this is what I'm looking at in the market ahead. We anticipating, for me, a lot more range bound price action. It's very unlikely that there will be trades unless I start to see impulsive behavior on the majority of pairs. So again, that is what I'm looking at in the market ahead.